colors in your mind. Kicks and stones will never change. I'll be so straight and blind. The more we learn, the less we lose. We can run to the streets, defeat the enemies,
One of the really terrific and great things about working at iRacing is that we've gotten the opportunity to meet and develop relationships with wonderful people in the motorsports world and companies in the motorsports world. And one of our longest partners in building race cars is Dallara. Andrea Tosa I've known now for over a decade and has been one of our biggest advocates and true believer in what we do here at iRacing. And so in May of this year, we were kind of sitting down and looking at the long-term plan for the year and realizing that we have some struggles with being able to collect data and go to racetracks and go to race shops to build content this year. So it kind of forced us to think a little bit outside of the box and say, okay, what is something that we can do this year that is truly exciting, outside of the box, and something truly unique and blends expertise that we have here at iRacing with one of our biggest partners in Dallara. And so in our management meeting in May, we said, well, where's a hole? Where's a hole in our service that we haven't put some content in for a while, and it's something that our customers really wanted, and we keep coming back to a high-level open wheel car. And so I picked up the phone, I called Andrea, I said, Andrea, let's build a race car.
Dallara's specialty in motor racing is design and development of production and support of race cars, particularly commercially available race cars that the race team would buy and race. Much effort goes into the concept, design, development, validation before manufacturing the real cars. When you commit to start production, the car should be right. And we range from F3 to F2, to IndyCar, to sports car, and Super 4.
When we started the design process, we wanted to look at what were the things that we loved in the past in racing, what are the things that we love currently in racing, and where do we potentially see the future of racing going. And so we kind of sat down and said, okay, we want a car that's really fun to drive, that you don't need to be a mechanical engineer to drive it, doesn't have any driver aids or gimmicks, and really just is going to be a car that you can follow another car behind. And so we kind of gave those ideas to Dallara, who, this is a company, this is what they do. They work with a manufacturer, a racing series, and they get an idea of what the box is that the manufacturer series wants these cars to live in. And then they kind of reverse engineer what that car will be. And we did the exact same process with Dallara with our car. We told them what we wanted, and they came back to us with a glorious car. It's beautiful. It's got a V10 naturally aspirated 900 horsepower engine. It's got 18-inch wheels. It's got a truly futuristic cockpit. It sounds glorious, and it's absolutely a blast to drive.
The process works exactly like a real race car. We started from the rules. We set the overall width and length, tire size, the engine power, the level of aerodynamics, and then we evolved those rules to achieve the target performance. We were debating about how to translate those dreams into scientific property, how to translate the easy overtaking, which implies limited downforce, and a car that is not sensitive to traffic, how to translate that into numbers. We had to translate some rather vague concepts and desires into numbers. We had to translate feelings and desire like traffic sensitivity, engine performance, engine drivability, tire degradation, and make it consistent with the shape and style and overall dimensions. We can't fool the sim racers because quite a few of them are professionals. And the same other sim racers are still quite experienced. The overall aim has been to provide the sim racers with the fun of enjoying racing almost right out of the box.
We started the design process really in earnest in late May, and that consisted of getting sketches from the Dallara designers and having the Dallara engineers do simulation work to kind of build a car that fits into the box that we wanted. And just from our perspective, our team, you know, being able to design your own race car with one of the premier race car manufacturers in the world was so thrilling. And I think we really approached it with, you know, we have this customer base that is so vocal and understands what they want and what they love about sim racing. And we've really maximized the things that we think that they love and really minimized the things that they don't like. And I think the end result is going to be a really, really fun car that everyone's going to start to be able to drive in December. We're going to have some official series with it early in 2021, and ultimately it's going to lead to a world championship in late 2021. So we're really thrilled with the design process and what Dallara built us, and we can't wait for the sim racing community to get really what is a dream sim racing car.
A new era begins in iRacing. $26 drivers, $25,000. This is the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship. Is this the greatest racetrack in the world? It hosts absolutely everything to an elite standard, and for elite standards today, the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship comes to one of the most legendary circuits, 7.004 kilometers, 21 turns, and everything and a bit more that you could possibly want from it, as we get ourselves a very, very important look at what is going on today. I'm Jake Sperry. Peter Mackay is along with me for the ride, as well as Taylor Burris as well. Peter, we're excited. I hope everyone else is excited as well. I'm sure that this is going to be an incredible thrill ride that we're going to be having through the Ardennes.
Absolutely, Jake. I think it's going to be a cracker today. You ask any driver, and Spa is, if it's not at the top of the list of their favourite tracks, it's usually in the top three. It has a bit of everything: slow corners, fast corners, some great overtaking opportunities, and a wonderful backdrop as well. And I think the driver's going to love it in this Dallara Force Dynamics World Championship.
And Taylor, they're going to love it as well. Every corner, it seems, is legendary. You talk about the campus corner, you talk about Eau Rouge Radion, you're talking about Les Coubes, you're talking about Blanchimont. Every corner has a legacy to it.
Let's just say this track is nothing but pure legacy in the world of motorsports. These drivers are going to be enjoying every single lap, every single moment of this as we continue on with such a historic series in the world of iRacing.
Yeah, and I'm sure that everyone is getting excited. I heard that some of the drivers were getting a little bit excited today as well. And we did have a couple of looks at some of the drivers and how they have been getting prepared for this Spa-Francorchamps race. And I believe James J. Pinsker is one of them who has been absolutely looking forward to racing today. I saw him dressed up, and there he is right now. He looks like he's just about ready, Peter, to go marshal at Glastonbury Music Festival right now with that get-go.
I think he could turn up at a lot of different situations dressed like that, but I love the solid wooden chair as well. That's going to keep you in. That's going to keep you in tight there as well. And James is going to have a lot of fun today, I'm sure. Spa-Francorchamps, wow, what a circuit! They've been racing here for decades. Back in 1950, Juan Manuel Fangio won the first ever Belgian Grand Prix, and it's all about the elevation as well. Up Eau Rouge, through Lecom, and then down the hill through towards Bruxelles and Jackie X corners, Pouon, and many more corners as well. It's a thrilling circuit, very high speed. Not as high speed as it was back in the day, but still an iconic Grand Prix venue.
It certainly is, and you can see the elevation there, 413 meters of it around this circuit, and there's a reason why this track is right alongside the route of Liège-Bastogne-Liège, one of the most famous cycling races that you can find in the world today. This track, of course, used to be public road. Now, of course, it is a permanent Formula One circuit, and it is a permanent circuit in the sense that it hosts every single style of racing, and that is going to be so incredible here today. But we are going to be heading over to the starting grid for you and be running down some of the qualifying results that we had a little look at earlier on today. And it's Michele Costantini who's got the pole position, 139.927. Peter Berryman will be there for company. Martin van Lozenoord, who leads the championship overall for that Predator team, will start from only P number 5. He'll have a lot of work to do today. Ben Fuller had a jump start last time we were racing. He goes from the 7th position. Tamas Shimon will be hoping not to have his accident. He goes from a very unfortunate 10th place with the likes of Sam Kuita there. Jarl Teyen will be looking for good options. Kane Halliburton didn't get himself to the start last time. He'll be hoping for good work, as well as the likes of Matteo Ugolotti and Jose Soria out there on track. And then the final few rows there, you can see the likes of Jorge Martinez and Omar Bahar, the last drive to set times. And those who didn't, Przemysław Lemonek didn't, nor did Florian Lebegra, which is a big shock actually for Florian, who is right up there in the championship P7, and Andreas Henkel making 25 drivers here today looking to get themselves all sorted out overall. I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a really important battle in what are evening conditions here today. Track temp 19 degrees, winds absolutely howling, 24 kilometers an hour. That's definitely something that these drivers will need to keep an eye out on as they deal with the very strong drafts here today. But this is the time, this is the place. It is 35 laps of racing that they will be looking to get through, and they know and they understand that if there is any time and place to get a big marquee result on the board, it is at Spa-Francorchamps. This is a track that legends were made. 1992, Michael Schumacher, legendary figure, of course, and I think drivers want to emulate in that same level of respect. So, pretty much everybody on the grid, we are getting set and ready. It's a short run to Eau Rouge, and we have the green flag, and we are underway here as they get themselves going. Berryman, I think, got a better start as they make the run here towards Eau Rouge for the very first time and through the Lassour's hairpin. So it's a nice get-go as they've sorted out a few drivers fanning out here and there, but it looks like we're all through okay. A little bit of contact in the middle of the pack. You can see them weaving and wiggling as they got Eau Rouge for the very first time. They're battling absolutely sensational. And now they tackle here, Taylor, the Camel Straight for the very first time.
This is where we're going to see a lot of drafting and a lot of slingshot action as they enter down the Camel Straight. Here comes your race leader. Michele Costantini holds on to that race lead for the first few corners as they head down to Bruxelles.
They certainly do, and it's been a case of everyone trying to jockey for position there. You can just see in the back of shot Marcus Jensen just holding that place against Johan Hath there for what was 4th position out there. So he's been in a little bit of a struggle streak to start this race. They go through Double Gauche, the big left-hander, and it's very nice to see that everybody has made it through the opening processes without dramas at all. Just the one driver off the back so far, Peter, but aside from that, it has been a clean start, important clean start for Michele Costantini off the pole.
Yeah, great launch there from Michele. Of course, was running in contention for the win last time out at Watkins Glen, but unfortunately got caught speeding in pit lane, and that wrecked his race, unfortunately. So he's out to try and get some redemption this week, and he's got a good rear gunner here in the form of Peter Berriman. Michele Costantini already with a gap of about half a second. So, well, we'll see if Van Lozenoord can make a move on Berriman here. Has a look, but whoa, a bit of a wiggle there as well, and oh dear.
Oh dear, 3 in trouble. It looked like it was trouble for Kane Halliburton. On top of that, I'm sure everyone has been looking at that as a huge drama. There's been another spinner there. We just saw it there in the back of shot. That's Gio Cortese in a bit of trouble. So a drama's at the end of the opening lap. Cold brakes, big braking zone, and drivers out of this, and someone's off. That's one of the racecraft cars there, Taylor, who's found a bit of trouble there. No rear wing.
Yeah, that is the 43 of Brian Lockwood, who was going end over end back on all 4 wheels, thankfully, but unfortunately damaged severely to the race cars. More cars are wrecking at the top of Radelion, so tough break for a couple of more cars here in this opening lap.
Oh, that's some heavy crabbing. You can see how much the wheel is skewed one side there, so dramas there down towards the rear of the field, and I think that was Beal in trouble, so out Jensen. Mandenark, the big catalyst to that incident earlier on. Gio Cortese down as well and out, but we focus on the lead battles that you can see on screen. Costantini leads, it's Berriman second, there is Van Lozenoord, who we've got to focus on right now, in 3rd position, and what a good start it has been for that driver in the 55 in 4th position here, Peter, as we've been keeping ourselves nice and calm. Ben Fuller up 3 places, and we're going to have a little bit of a look, see what exactly happened at the end of that opening lap, I believe.
Well, there's certainly a lot to dissect here as well. There's something happened to Johan Harth, who was running up the front of the order. It looked like he got a slowdown penalty or something. No, ooh, no, just looks like he got drilled from behind there, and that slowed him right down. Kane Halliburton in there too as well. And his teammate Brian Lockwood off at La Source, a strange one, reached the barrier as well. But so far so good for SDK Gaming and the Apex Racing team group. Costantini leads from Berriman, and Ben Fuller, their teammate, there in 4th. So 3 Apex Racing cars in the top 4, but they've got the championship leader Van Lozenoord for RHG Esports to worry about.
Yep, he's in 3rd. Fastest lap so far goes to David Toth in the number 8 machine. Why is that important in this series, ladies and gentlemen? You get 1 championship point if you hold the fastest lap by the end of the race. No such luck going into Les Combes as they go through the left and the right, or the right and the left as it should be, going through that section. But the keys here are that they are settling down into a rhythm. Taylor, it's important that a lot of this race in the early goings is going to be about the fuel save game and leaving a driver like Costantini out on the front to do the heavy load.
It certainly is. In fact, from the Apex Racing team, a lot of their drivers are going to be staying outside of leading this race. They want to make sure that they are not leading this race at all, as you're on board with Jarl Teen, who is going to stay tucked in behind his competitors at all costs, not wanting to lead a lap until absolutely necessary.
Yes, he is the most adaptable driver in racing, is Jarl Teen, and he will be certainly looking for a really good opportunity. You can see there he's in 6th gear as he makes that charge. He's got a little bit of a gap to the cars in front. Ben Fuller will be lifting off then through this section on the run towards Blanchemont. He closes that gap right up again, and he will try and figure out where he needs to go for a move. And he's just trying to get himself to the inside, and he's got to now be very, very cautious. It's not just him there in 5th position. If you had a look in his mirrors, look at them. They're absolutely everywhere behind. You've got likes of Simon, Ugalotti's in there as well. Everybody's looking to try and be on this train as they go through La Source here, Peter.
Yeah, and if you're in that mid-pack, it's a heck of a lot more dangerous than it is to be up the front. I would want to be where Costantini, Berriman and Van Lozenoord are. That's likely to be the safest place at the moment. We've seen a few drivers just touching wheels, and you don't want to do that too much in these open-wheel cars at a circuit as fast as Spa-Francorchamps, as Ben Fuller's going to try and get onto the case of Van Lozenoord here. But there is an opportunity we might see here, guys, a 4-car breakaway. The drivers have been telling us anything over about 1.1 seconds, that is when the draft starts to drop away.
Certainly does. Taylor, you've got a little bit of race analysis to keep our eyes out on. What are we expecting here today?
Well, of course, for the force dynamic race analysis, of course, this is a 35-lap race. Pit road speeds are going to be about 37 miles per hour, so make sure, like we saw last time, they have the pit limiter button on that so that we don't catch any speeding. Pit delta is 31 seconds, and with the fuel window anywhere between 12 to 14 laps, maybe 15, depending on how much they try to fuel save, it will be critical to see how much they spend on pit road. And then, of course, we have our soft to hard tire compounds, 1 second difference per lap. And currently right now on the track, we have 3 cars on the track with the medium tire compound. So an interesting strategy call for a couple of our drivers who are towards the back half of the field wanting to work their way up. But for right now, everyone, for the most part, has the hard tire compound.
Oh my goodness, it's like rush hour. Someone there just driving a little bit wide and dropping a whole heap of positions there as they go through. That is not the ideal as they take that line. It looks like Johan Haaf just jumps up ahead there. That's Matteo Galotti taking that big outside line. So the struggles are real. And I think it was even just behind that. That may have been Przemysław Lemonek there who dropped those places. So easily you can find yourself backwards in this race. We go on board here with Johan Haaf, who was actually on the wrong side of it. But this is how strong you can be. That is Sam Quitet, I believe, just in front, who'll be looking to try and see where you go. They're going to look through, and it's a tight squeeze to make sure you make it happen. And Johan says, I do not want to sit by and wait in a race like this when everyone is going to be swarming up behind Peter. That was a wonderful, wonderful move.
That was Lemonek we're running on board with. Johan Haaf is 1 car ahead, but he's making fast progress because, of course, was up there in the top 3 in the opening lap, but then kind of got nerfed from behind. And tell you what, the Frenchman, he is recovering so well here, and with the pace that he's on right now, he could catch up with this leading group with his other colleagues in the Apex Racing Team group.
And Peter as well, you know, we're talking about this being an important point of the race. We've got the Force Dynamics, of course, sponsoring all of what we've seen here so far today. It's important to talk about here the G-forces that they're going through here around this circuit. I took a little bit of a look at some telemetry data from Ben Fuller earlier on in the week, and he was saying he was reaching 6 Gs of force in the sim going through double gauche, and he was only putting 17% of steering in the car as he did so. And that goes into what Force Dynamics are doing as a product as a whole.
Yeah, our very kind sponsors, Force Dynamics, based just near Watkins Glen, actually, where we were for the first round of the championship. They can build you a completely bespoke simulator that replicates the G-force of a real racing car. The technology has got proper, true G-force replication, continuous rotation, and high rotation centers. So give the guys and girls at Force Dynamics a call or an email, and they can explain in very fine detail exactly what their machines can do. They are by far and away the top on the market as well. So if you want to get the closest possible thing to being out there on track for real, give Force Dynamics a call.
Absolutely, as we focus on the leading group at this moment. If you believe it or not right now here, it is a train of 15 cars in the fight for the race win at this point in time, which makes strategy all the more important here at this point. Martin van Loozenhoorn, though, has taken to the front of the field. He has got himself ahead on that last lap, had about 6/10 over the line. That gap is half a second down to 4/10 as they go into the Fania chicane here. Le Fania through the right and the left, and then over to the campus corner, that Institute of Technology there on the inside right of the corner as they funnel on through the final sector of the lap. How important, Taylor, is it going to be to just keep yourself calm as we see a little bit of side-by-side here starting to form up then, about 6 cars in. That's Lemonek then dealing with a whole heap of cars behind. Teyen, Haaf, Ugolotti, Lebera is in there as well. They're all just trying to make sure that they're in the right position here on lap 6 when we consider we're already halfway through the stint.
We certainly are, and for drivers such as Lemonek, who had a major issue, as we have a couple of cars spinning out of the hairpin back there, a big issue for the cars. But for the most part, drivers are going to have to be careful of how they set their fuel strategy. We see how some of the drivers like Martin van Loozenhoorn, who was now leading this race, he is going to be using way much more fuel compared to Constantini or Peter Fjerreman.
Let's get a little look at that. Looked like it was Florian Lebigre who was there and involved going through that final chicane, formerly the bus stop chicane before they altered the track in 2007 to re-evaluate it. And this is how easily it can go wrong. They're running so close. It's like trying to pack as many sardines as you can into a tin. It looks like he may have just tagged the rear there of Tamas Simon going through, and David Toth with nowhere to go, Peter.
Yeah, that's you called that exactly right there, Jake. It just looked like the Lebigre there got a little bit checked up, and of course when you're asking for the throttle, these cars have 900 horsepower and about 600 kilograms in weight, so they're very, very fast indeed. So when you ask for the power, you catapult forward, and that just caught Florian Lebigre out there.
Yeah, on the wrong side, you would say, of Lady Luck was David Toth, and Florian Lebigre as well, you could definitely say, in the same position. Fastest lap has changed once again. That is in the back pocket right now of Sam Kwiatert at this stage, as we look at him just in front of who we're all looking at right now, Jarl Tejent, trying to go for it, and you can just see how much they're gaining in towards that chicane. I think both drivers there in that two-wide battle really were Taylor having to hit the brakes incredibly early just to make sure they're not running into the back of the cars in front.
Well, we saw what has happened every time that they did try to go too wide into that chicane. Utter chaos normally happens. So I think now these drivers are starting to settle down just a little bit, which is what they need to do. Get into that rhythm, follow their competitors to try to build enough of a draft to maybe pull away from some competitors and save fuel right now. So drivers such as Peter Berryman have been doing that since the start of this race, as we see a couple of drivers deciding to not take heed to that, but go too wide as they head down. Trouble actually for Peter Berryman.
And Berryman around into the gravel, just about taps the wall there. And that is not ideal for a driver who wants championship aspirations. He'll have to try and manage his way back through. He's got the car going again, but my goodness, that is not what you want to be seeing when you're going at probably the fastest point on the circuit there, Peter, into one of the most critical corners of the lap.
And I hate to say it, that was his teammate Ben Fuller getting the run there down the Kemmel Straight towards Les Combes. We've got a great view of it here with the chopper cam. I think maybe Fuller just got a little bit unsighted by the car on the inside there, and Peter Berryman, absolutely nothing he could do there. But coming to our point about championship points, points are awarded all the way to 15th place. We've got a very high rate of attrition in this race. You need to keep going. You never know how this could finish up.
No, especially when it's into Lagos next week as well. That is a track predicated on being title defining in terms of what its legacy has been. That is a track that I'm sure everyone wants to be eyes open for. Wasn't necessarily his teammate that hit him, but an affiliated teammate, so to speak, or an affiliated team. Of course, you've got Apex and you've got STK Gaming. Ben Fuller driving for the STK Gaming team out there compared to the Apex Racing team that is out there at this stage. It does promote up, and all of this, mind you, is from a Przemysław Lemonek here at the moment, Taylor, who's up a staggering 20 positions, and he's going for it again right now for the race lead we just saw for a split second there as we go through. Look at this, he's up to second now.
He certainly is. A wonderful move for Lemonek, who has just absolutely been on a tear. Had a couple of close calls throughout the entire race after starting in the back half of the field when we dropped the green flag here, but now is right behind his teammate of Luzenord to see if these two can work together and maybe pull away from their competition. This is a great opportunity for them.
Oh, you absolutely would say so, but at exactly the same time, Peter, you'd say at this section of the race, someone like Lemonek must have been using a whole heap of fuel to make up those 21 positions he has done so far. As we take a look at Andreas Henkel riding through the Fania chicane, he's someone on the back of this train who could definitely capitalise on certain areas here if it were to go wrong.
I think we've seen that so far. I mean, we've only got 18 cars on the lead lap at the moment out of 26 starters. And I tell you what started off... Lemonek, huge wreck at Blanchimont.
Costantini was trying to get by, and all of that work is for naught. The driver there of Przemysław Marek Lemonek is out of the race, and that is probably one of the most loaded sections of track to have an accident, Peter. That was massive.
Yeah, it's absolutely flat out through there. It used to be a real fan the throttle off. But nowadays, with a car of this level of aerodynamic performance, completely flat out through there, and right at the top of top gear, and very, very easy to just step a half a meter out the wrong direction, and that appeared to be what happened there. I'm sure we'll get a look at it, but Costantini continues. But what a shame for Lemonette, because that charge through the pack was just spellbinding.
Certainly was spellbinding, and now we're starting to see those packs form again. And crucially enough, it is the front 4, 5, 6 now who have got to just get themselves into rhythm. They've got to change their mindset now, Taylor, from being aggressive to when do you want to make that stop. We're looking at that window opening that we believe in about 2 laps time. It'll be interesting to see who decides to make the call when and where.
It certainly is right now. Now it's the time to get in that rhythm, set yourself up for your next first stint of pit stops here as we get ready to watch this. The 2 SDK racing cars of Constantini and Fuller are going to be lined up nose to tail right now, but for Lusenord, he's going to have really no help, so he needs to try and strategize the best possible pit stop strategy in order to try to stay ahead of these other cars who do have a teammate since Lusenord lost Lamanec last time around as they come up to Blanchimont.
Yeah, and this is crucial if you've got a helper there. There's no team's championship here in this series, but what there certainly is out there to give yourself a whole heap of help is that if you've got someone that you can communicate with, you can get an understanding of there with you as you race, that is a huge advantage to have to coordinate attacks out there in this race that we have going on at the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Lap 11 they go on to, and we've got to talk about the level of how much they can save that fuel and save as much as they can, Peter, because we were hearing from the drivers earlier on that they're thinking that they can save so much on this Kemmel Straight. They reckon they can get from 7/10 back a move done.
Absolutely, you've certainly got more options behind the driver in front, and I feel this Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing World Championship is going to be kind of a blend between chess and bare knuckle boxing, because we've seen the ferocities definitely ratcheted up in this second round compared to the opening round at Watkins Glen last week. But that strategy and that how you decide to go about your race is so critical. But at the moment, it's Martin van Loosenoord who's managing it. Now, one thing we should talk about as well is track limits. Are we going to see any drivers reaching the track limits cap that's been put on the drivers? I think we could do, actually.
Well, that is going to be crucial on top of that as well. So keep an eye out. Every 17 points, there will be a drive-through penalty assigned in the server, and then when they reach 25 incident points overall, that's it. It's a straight-up disqualification, no points from the round. So that's just a little something that you see in every iRacing event out there on the open wheel side. But at least at this moment in time, you can see then we've been on board for about a lap here with Matteo Ugolotti at this stage, who's been keeping himself calm. He's got to be a little bit careful. And right, speak of the devil there, fastest lap, Martin van Loosenoord, 141.930 there. He's trying to make a break, but he's not really getting too much luck of things at the moment as they look to go through. We're focusing on Samquita, and look at the run that you've got. Oh, that's a huge check up there from Costantini there, Taylor.
It certainly was. It could have been actually detrimental, but now Constantini will look to the inside.
He certainly will. He's got himself the nose, and I think this is the sort of time in the race, Peter, where we're thinking about track position, big slide as he goes through the second part of Lake Kuma. I think Van Loosenoord doesn't want to say no for an answer. He's going to look back down the inside. Oh, you're not going to get me like that. I could be a little bit more coy than you. I'll keep my track position moving on towards the pit stop side. Oh, there's someone off in the background there, and that is a huge one. I think that's Sam Quita, and someone else going to run straight into the back as well. So that's 2 drivers in a whole heap of drama there. Wow.
Oh dear, poor old Sam Coiter. He really was charging there as well. But what really stood out to me there, guys, was just how easily Van Loosenoord snatched the place back. He just replied so quickly in quite a twisty technical part of the circuit. And it's interesting that they're really starting to battle for that track position now, as you mentioned, Jake, because we're now right on the pit window. We could expect cars to come in on this lap, possibly the next one.
I tell you who I really felt for at that moment. It was Marcos Nunez, who was an innocent bystander through that moment. There's next to no runoff area through that section of road. Everybody, though, is staying out for another attempt round, except for a couple. Jarl 10, I think, is diving in, and Andreas Henkel. Taylor, important first pit stops happening.
It certainly is very important. They are pitting from inside the top 10 as a couple of more cars may determine to come down pit road towards the back. But as we see Jarl along with Andreas Henkel enter their pit box, they're going to try to be as quick as possible. Usually these pit stops are under 10 seconds as we wait to see 8.7 stop for Henkel and then a 8.6 stop for Jarl. So great pit stops indeed as they try to complete the delta, exiting off pit road, about a 32-second for the entire lane for both Henkel and Jarl.
Yeah, so exactly what we need to see. We're going to get a little bit of a look here at our replay, and this is what we could see from Marcos Nunez as he went through the left, and they can see backing out onto circuit there was Sam Kuita. He was trying desperately to give himself enough room, Peter, so that he could get the car turned around and going again. He thought he had a gap, but ultimately, because of how quick these cars are going around and actually how blind you are going through at the bottom of that section of track, there was no way that he was going to be able to hit the brakes in time to stop Marcos Nunez plowing into the back of him.
Yeah, I think we might see a protest coming in from Marcos Nunez there to Sam Kuita because, yeah, you're rejoining the track. You've got to make sure you rejoin safely, and you could argue that Sam didn't there, which is not like him. Oh, loses it early on the curb on the way in. We can't stress enough, for those who haven't tried the car yet, if you haven't, give it a go on the iRacing service. It's so much fun. But everything happens so quick as our leaders come into pit lane altogether.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 as well, all jumping into the pits. It's going to be a battle of pit crews then here at Spa-Francorchamps for the opening stop of the 2 we expect. They are fuel limited. They have to make those 2 stops here today. So who's going to have it best then? Van Leeuwenhoek, you've got there in the mix the likes of Johan Harth, and now it's about this driver who has been leading them around, and that of course has been Jarl Teyen. Where, Taylor, are they going to come out in comparison to him?
We're waiting on the pit stops right now, and it looks like Van Leeuwenhoek will win that race out of the group off pit road. We're waiting on Jarl as he is just now coming out of La Source, and he will move up into the top 5. So a great gain of spots for him, but for Leeuwenhoek, he is now back up in front of the field once again, about a 0.6 of a second gap, the largest that he's had since taking over the race lead.
Yeah, a pretty big gap and a sizable one. On top of that, you can see 2 wide in the distance in front as they look to charge on forward, and half a second is going to be crucial. And they can see a little look behind as Tamas Simon, I believe, there was trying the overtake on Andreas Henkel's position. It looks like he's got that move done and has moved up a place. So a crucial phase in the race. How do the pit stops manage here and there? And Peter, it looks like Martin van Leeuwenhoek was the big winner in those stops.
Yeah, Van Leeuwenhoek really calm under pressure, and he is under a lot of pressure, although the SDK gaming drivers of Michele Costantini and Ben Fuller are running in different colours to the Apex Racing Team cars of Johan Harth and Peter Berriman. You can see that they're all part of the same operation. They're all connected by voice chat together, riding on board with Michele Costantini just now. There's a face of concentration. Just shows you how quick they have to be with their eyes, looking at all the information that's coming through to them and trying to guide this missile of a race car through the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. But that's something that Van Leeuwenhoek's got to compete with. He's got 3 other drivers to race against who are all allies with one another.
Absolutely, and this is the crucial phase of the race. You've got to try and shake off as many rivals behind as you can at this stage, and what we're looking at is the gaps between drivers, and the gap between Costantini and Johan Harth is out to 1.3 seconds at this stage. That is right on, Taylor, the very fringes of the draft, and we expect that to be like an elastic band. You can see it's up to about 1.5 seconds at this stage. If they don't have the draft up this straight, there is no hope that they are going to have to close unless they start really battling it out amongst each other.
Well, we could possibly see that as Costantini tries to look to the inside of Leeuwenhoek. Leeuwenhoek will power back on the outside as they head through Lecombs. A good battle between these two, but they also need to realize with those two battling, that could allow, like you said, Johan Harth or Ben Fuller to close into this race lead.
And we just saw Andreas Henkel getting the place back on Tamas Simon. This is the fight 6th, 7th, and 8th at this point in time. Matteo Ugolotti sitting there, and there you can see VR in full force of Andreas Henkel as he looks to try and get as much as he can out of it. always going to be a difficult battle leading a field like this. He was the driver, of course, who started dead last, Peter, in qualifying, and he has got himself up into 7th position. I would say, job well done so far.
Absolutely, a super job from Andreas Henkel. And I have to say, I'm delighted to see 2 drivers from the Lotus 79 Classic Sunday Grand Prix Series up here fighting at World Championship level. Andreas Henkel and Thomas Simon, the 09 and the 9, are fighting at the front here as well and using their experience of the ground effect Lotus 79, one of our classic cars on the iRacing simulator, to full effect here in our most modern car.
Yes, and so modern it is virtual to reality. You would say at this stage, this is a wonderful, wonderful machine, and one which I think is incredible as we get that little look then from behind. The push that you are seeing, a little lockup through the on-camber turn 1, the La Source hairpin. That was the part of the circuit that connected to the village of Francorchamps there, down at La Source, and then they take the rise up Eau Rouge, and then after that, Radion, and now this Kemmel Straight, and you can see just how they're swarming behind. Thomas Simon's going to make a move. They're going to go 3 wide. Oh my goodness me, we just cut away there from that little battle as the leaders continue to deal with their strife. Somehow, some way, Taylor, everyone is still running without any worries at all. But it's those top 2 we focus on, Van Lozenoord and Costantini. They can see across the 2 places there on screen for Andreas Henkel, who got absolutely swarmed around up the Kemmel.
He certainly did, and all at 195 miles an hour down the Kemmel Straight, taking it 3 wide before having to get onto the binders in through Lecombe. A very brave and very amazing pass in for position here.
Oh, it had shades there, Peter, of Hakkinen, Schumacher and Ricardo Zonta 2000.
I wondered when someone was going to mention the Hakkinen versus Schumacher. You kind of have to on any race at Spa. It's such a great moment. Now, what I want to know is the dynamic at the front. Michele Costantini has a choice. He can stick with Van Lozenoord and try and break away and be selfish, or he can start putting moves on Van Lozenoord and slow the pace down, allowing his teammates Hart and Fuller to catch up. I don't know which option he will choose, but those are his choices as we go 3 wide up the Kemmel Straight on our replay. And good respect from the drivers there. As Taylor mentioned, 195 miles an hour. You just need to step a tiny bit over the line, and it's a big wreck.
I tell you what, Matteo Ugolotti there really put a lot of faith in those drivers he was racing with, and they gave him that faith and gave him the room. Very nearly clattered into the back there as they went on forward, but again they crest the rise here. Lap 17 of 35. We'll be about halfway through the lap when we're at the halfway stage. Simon looking to the inside, gets the move comfortably done, and they are allowing the likes of James J. Pinsker on the back there. A little bit of a change of livery for him. He's looking really excited. Gone are the Crayola colours, so to speak, out there as he goes through. And now he's got a livery which, for my money, looks like a 1999 BAR with all the Dallara things, Peter. You can see there's like 4 different paints melded into one.
Well, it wouldn't be a James Pinsker paint scheme if it wasn't pretty out there, that's for sure. But it's suitably conservative compared to last week's paint scheme. But he's made up for it with the shades, that's for sure. As we're having a look at Michele Costantini making the move then on Van Lozenoord. So they trade position. We'll see how harsh Van Lozenoord makes his retaliation. Does he make a retaliation, or does he now sit behind Costantini and try and break away? But that's gone. Already they're back into a group again. So there's your answer. Michele Costantini's played this perfectly and brought his teammates back into the game.
Yeah, Ben Fuller, his teammate, he has certainly brought back there in 4th position. Johan Hart, of course, at Apex. He's going to be certainly hoping for a good opportunity there, of course, affiliated with the SDK Gaming crew, of course. But Van Lozenoord, he was in very similar circumstances, Taylor, 1 week ago when we were at Watkins Glen. He knows how to deal with these battles. He knows he's got to just place himself perfectly. If he can manage that, then he might just be 2 from 2. He has a little think about it again as they go up the Kemmel Straight once more towards Lecombe. He's going to think about a move here, lap 18, but no decision as of yet to try and make that a reality.
He's certainly showcased he has one of the fastest cars out here since the start of this race. But one thing he also knows is when to pick and choose the time to fight, the time to defend, and the time to try and pull away. He's now realized we're starting to get closer to our second round of pit stops here momentarily here in a few laps. So he may try to save a little bit to see if he can go that one extra lap he needs and maybe see if he can pull a little bit of strategy over his competition.
Yeah, and it's that strategy that has really made this series happen as we keep ourselves a little bit of an eye here on these two drivers. Johan Hart there on the left, Ben Fuller on the right, and you can see the face of concentration as they go on through. You can look at Ben Fuller there, really, Pete. He's going, yeah, all is calm. The man from Indianapolis is just keeping that and saying, you know what? This is what I'm expecting right now. I'm on the back. I'm just doing my job saving. I don't really have to do too much here to go and be aggressive right now. I'm saving all my chips for the final table, so to speak.
Yeah, for a particularly young man, he has got a wise head on his shoulders, that's for sure. But he learned his racing craft in the pressure cooker that is Mario Kart on the Game Boy Advance. So he's well prepared, that is for sure. But we had a chat with during the week and telling us about the start procedure for these cars as well. Very, very interesting as well. Now, what has happened to James Penske, chaps?
Oh, it's what we saw, just that little bit of catching over the AstroTurf, and it created a huge moment out there on track. What a look we see for the race lead. That is Johan Hart making it happen as he made a big power move over to the inside, very nearly clattered the back of Van Loozenhoorn as he went through and took the lead away from Costantini. So now it's Johan's turn there on the front. He's about a mile or two out from Montpellier in France, and he is someone who absolutely wants to marry up what is going to be, Taylor, a Rallycross championship here with this Force Dynamics Dallara championship.
Nothing wrong with picking up a 2-for-1, whether it be for world championships or positions. As we take a look at this replay, I gotta say, just watch the speed differentials and the full effects of the slipstream here as we watch Johan Hart make this pass. As you see the speed, you're on board with him. He'll get right there, take a quick dart to the outside, and then just pick off both of them before they enter into Lecombe. A beautiful pass and a beautiful paying attention to the airflow and able to make this pass.
Closing speeds were incredible. It looked like Van Loozenhoorn had just lifted out to that point, and Johan Hart said, you know what, no, I'm going for it. Second battle, you can see Jarl Teyen's now lost a couple of places. Wide goes. Oh, contact there as they go through. That's Teyen into the back of Andreas Henkel there, who did run wide and needed to block off on that section. That is a free ticket to run away for Tamas Simon, who knows that if he's going to go now, because he's only 2.1 seconds here, Peter, behind Ben Fuller, which he knows that's the lead group. I have a chance of victory today.
The thing is, the lead group carry on with the way that they're racing and sort of not taking turns at the front, then their pace will drop, and it will drop back, and Tamas Simon will become a feature in this leading group. And I have to say, we talked about Mika Hakkinen versus Michael Schumacher on the Kemmel Straight. Well, what about Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard? Well, so close there from when Van Loozenhoorn, as you mentioned, Jake, when he just lifted off the throttle in the draft, that very nearly caught Johan Hart out, but the Frenchman with absolutely lightning reflexes managed to avoid hitting the back. But the drivers have got to be so careful in the draft, because my goodness me, does it pull.
Oh, it certainly does. As we go split screen, there's Jarl Teyen at the bottom, battle for 7th, and there's your race lead battle up on top as they look to try and figure out exactly where they need to be. Hart, Costantini, Van Loozenhoorn and Fuller, your top 4 as things stands lap 20. And we're expecting here, after those 13-lap opening stints, everyone diving in. Taylor, do we believe that this is going to be the same, that we're expecting in the next few laps drivers to start thinking about making that stop on the same 13, or is this going to be a case of a roundabouts and who wants to get an undercut here and there?
I have a feeling it's going to be a mix of that. We probably will see drivers pitting in the fuel window opening, which will be between laps 21 to 24, but we could have a couple of drivers trying to stay out by conserving fuel. Drivers such as Constantini has been asked to try and save as much as he can before that next round of fuel stops. However, drivers such as Peter Berryman, who have been trying to regain back up into the top 5, has been told to go 100% in order to try and have some good points before the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely, and Peter Berryman's been doing a good job as we continue our focus with Michele Costantini. in second position, making the run through Les Combes and Malmedy. There is Berryman. That is David Toth just behind. So this is the fight for 9th position. And I tell you what, being told to push right now here for Peter Berryman is crucial here in terms of this race, because guess what? He's only 3 seconds behind Yartayan, who has really struggled over the course of this stint here, Peter.
Yeah, I've been keeping a close eye on Peter Berryman in number 50. He's, ever since that incident with Ben Fuller going into Les Combes, where he was backwards into the barrier, he has fought so hard and has been matching pace with the leaders. And in fact, in the last couple of laps, has been going quicker. So he's actually pulling back that time. I mean, he's only 10 seconds away from our leader, Johan Harth, at the moment. So Peter Berryman's still hanging on by his fingernails. You've got to love that tenacity there as well. Now, the drivers were tight-lipped about tyres. Now, they did say that they could use the soft for qualifying, hard for the race, and the tyres actually, the hard was basically getting better as the stint went on. However, if they run this full second stint on the hard tyre, I wonder if we might see some teams try the medium at the end. The soft will wear out too quickly, but I think there might be some drivers that gamble on the medium on the last stint, which is slightly shorter.
I wonder here if Tayan's got damage, because he has just been absolutely wolfed past by those two, now up into 8th and 9th position. And for Yartayan, I think this is damage limitation. He's got 7 seconds to James Shapinska, who will be the next driver to keep in mind. Up at the front, though, there are the fantastic 4 to deal with. Harth, Costantini, Van Lozenoord and Fuller, as once again, they run through the right and the left at Les Combes, but no chance then for an overtake just yet. They are very much in that cycle of we don't want to rock the apple cart just yet. They are just being calm. They know that the race will be unlocked towards lap 33, 34, 35. That's when it's go time. Right now, it's the old adage that is often said, and it's one broadcast colleague to another, Mark Scaife, who says it quite a bit, Taylor. You've got to buy a ticket to the end.
You certainly do, and these drivers are going to try to see if they can buy their ticket as soon as possible here to get to the end of today's race. A couple of drivers are trying to determine when to make that move down to pit road. We should be seeing that happening here. If not this lap coming around, the next time by, a couple of drivers should be making their pit stops. And one thing to point out, too, we talked about it a little bit last week. For some of those drivers who are outside the top 10, who are not going to be getting a whole lot of points, since the top 15 does get points, we could be seeing some drivers put on some red tires or the soft tire compound in order to try to get that fastest lap award, to get that one extra bonus point to be ahead somewhat of their competitors in the point standings, which we all know how important every single point will count for these drivers in this championship.
Speaking of every single point matters, we have 15 runners in this field right now, going down to Jose Soria, who is 1 lap down at this stage, currently holding 15th place as the leading 4 again crest that rise. 13 laps to go here from this wonderful, wonderful circuit. And finally a move as Costantini decides, you know what, this is my time. I want to go back to the front. Once again, I want that track position before that pit stop window opens. He takes himself into the race lead. But there's the importance here of the likes of Soria, Martinez, Bahar, Alejandro Del Campo as well here, that although they're down in the lower positions and on different strategies, they're still going to get a very important amount of points today against a whole heap of rivals who have found themselves out in the early goings.
Yeah, we said that earlier on, that you just cannot give up with the attrition rate that we've seen tonight, far more than last week at Watkins Glen. It is, if you can get it to the flag, you've got a good chance of scoring some points. And Taylor makes an excellent point by, you know, if you're further down the order and you're not going to, perhaps it's not going to worry you too much on track position, throw a set of soft tyres on and do a qualifying run and try and get that fastest lap. So we could see a real dash at the end, as interestingly, Michele Costantini already starting to stretch a little bit from Johan Harth, only by a car length or two, but with the margins like these, it's fascinating to see. Do we have any takers just yet? No, they carry on. So looks like the leaders are going to go deep here, guys.
I'm expecting it. That's something that they've got to be careful of. And you wonder here how much they're going to be a bit concerned of car number 9 in 5th place, because if they keep playing a game of chicken here, Taylor, they're going to be falling back into Tamash Simon, who's been very quietly going about this race, very quietly trying to get this result sorted. And 5th place will do absolute wonders for the championship effort after the crash at Watkins Glen. In fact, we do have a taker down into the pits. And I believe then that we're going to be seeing just how crucial that is going to be. And an important stop there as into the box goes Yartayan, probably with that damage that we saw earlier.
Yeah, he does have a little bit of damage to that front wing of his Dallara after getting a closer look at it, but he will be the first one to blink. James Pinsker also should be coming down pit road this time by, so when he comes out of the chicanes here in a few moments, he will also be coming down pit road. So some of our drivers towards the back half of the top 10 are now going to be setting up for their positioning for pit stops. As for the rest of the field, still waiting on confirmation on these leaders of when they're coming.
Yeah, so that confirmation still isn't there. They're still very much in the strategy hall at this stage, and they're not going to be leaving themselves too long for the rest of this race. And now this is really going to start throwing up a tyre gamble at this stage. We were seeing how the mediums may be running here. If they're leaving it to 7-8 laps to go, is this the stage, Peter, where we're thinking mediums, maybe even thinking soft compound tyres?
No, I don't think soft. I think that we heard from, I won't say which driver, but we heard from the drivers that anything up to 6, and even then you're stretching it on the soft. So it's really a qualifying tyre. However, the hard tyres are getting there as you get to the end of a 13-lap stint. So the medium, we could see some drivers trying it as Andreas Henkel comes to pit road.
Yep, so Andreas Henkel is going to drop himself out of that group with Matteo Ugolotti. So that's going to be an important stop. He wants to get it all sorted. Look at how they're swarming. You've got to go now if you're car 69. Martin van Lozenoord, he's going to the outside, but he's on the wrong side of the draft train there. Costantini moved across to the middle of the road, trying to give Johan Harth a bit of tow to neutralize the run that Martin van Lozenoord had. That's incredible, Taylor.
It certainly is. Very incredible driving by these wonderful drivers in the top 4, showing respect as well when battling for position as well, which is a wonderful thing to see. Did get a confirmation from some of our Apex Racing team members. They are going to be pitting in the next 2 laps.
So that will be around lap 26, lap 27. So that's going to leave them with about 8 or 9 laps to go here in this race. So that is not long in the context here of this one, and gaps are going to be important, and how long you can go in those stops. It's worth noting as well here, Peter, that it was Van Lozenoord, of course, and Costantini who are a lot better on that first stop than the two of Harth and Fuller. And Fuller's just been the quiet one in this race, has made no attempt to move from 4th position. I think he might be the one who's going to try and out-strategize everybody else.
Well, in theory, by being at the back of the train, we've got a split. We've got a split. Oh, Harth and Van Lozenoord in.
That's huge. That's Costantini and Johan Harth, who
Apologies.
are in. Tamas Simon follow as well. That's important in the context here. 2 went in, 2 stayed out. And those 2 that stayed out, they're going to have to rely on having better opportunities to go out and make it happen. This needs to be here a mega lap from the likes of Martin van Lozenoord and Ben Fuller. This is the time to strike, and you're seeing it here from Ben Fuller as he closes up. Does he think about the move? Oh, you bet he does. He wants track position. He's going to get it as well.
Great pass indeed by Ben Fuller. Michele Constantini will win that race off of pit road ahead of Johan Harth. He will pull it out to about an 0.8 of a second lead right now. So this could be the battle for the lead and for the pit, as well as pit stop cycles come to close here. But Ben Fuller is definitely putting the pressure on Van Lozenoord.
If that's not the time to battle, I don't know what is. Too wide through double gauche, and still on the exit it is Ben Fuller holding on. Van Lozenoord definitely wants to get through, and he's having none of it. They're racing each other, Peter, out of this race.
I can confirm that Michele Costantini and Johan Harth have put on the medium. So if they've tried it, you've got to think that Ben Fuller and Van Lozenoord are going to try it as well. You do not want to be at a disadvantage. So what will these outfits do as Van Lozenoord gets a huge run on Fuller as they come up to Blanchimont side by side? This is the Alessandro Per greedy move around the outside at Blanchimont. Did they come out the other side?
I'm wondering here whether there's been a moment here for Martin van Lozenoord out there on track. We'll have to wait confirmation of that, but it looks like that he is ahead as they come into the pits. So he has got himself that stop. Ben Fuller is in 2nd position, and now it's going to be interesting because Costantini and Johan Harth, they have come out together. and they are going to be trying to think about, okay, will we be in the right position for this one? They're on those yellow-walled medium compound tyres. How's it going to look as they come out of the pits? It's going to be mighty close, but I think that the ship has sailed here. Fuller's going to go through, and I think Van Lozenoord here, a really long stop by comparison. He's going to be out behind Tamas Simon and dealing with Andreas Henkel. A disaster stop, Taylor, for Van Lozenoord, the championship leader.
I think he might have missed his pit box just a little bit when coming into it, so he had to back up just a hair. But as he will now drop to the 5th position, a big mistake for Van Lozenoord.
Oh, absolutely, and he knows it, and he's only got to try and make it up there on screen. You can see the top two, Johan Harth and Michele Costantini. If they're going to try and figure out between them, it's going to be who wants it more. It is France versus Italy in the battle for the race win. Then here with 9 laps to go here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, round 2 of 10 here, Peter, at this wonderful, wonderful DIGPC Championship brought to you by Force Dynamics.
Yeah, it's fascinating strategy as well, and I think Johan Harth and Costantini played it clever, and really you can argue that Van Lozenoord and Fuller did not, because they were battling absolutely tooth and nail in a lap. They really should have been putting down a qualifying lap, and that really cost them, although Van Lozenoord has certainly been cost the most from that mistake in pit road, and again, a mistake in pit road costing a front-running driver. But Fuller, he's got real work to do now if he wants to catch up with his colleagues.
Certainly does. It'll be interesting to see the gap right now. It's about 1.2 seconds at this stage, and you just saw there on the timing tower a change of position as Peter Berryman has got through on Andreas Henkel. That's brought him back into 6th place. Harth with the purple check mark, so to speak. He's set the fastest lap of the race, 1:41.826. That gives him an extra championship point, immediately bested, though, by 0.7 of a second there, Taylor, by Peter Berryman. He is absolutely charging as they fight again for this race lead, but this time it's Costantini happy to sit and save and wait for the chance.
Something you always like to see in the world of where a lot of drafting is going to come into play is showing that patience and when to make that move. You don't always want to be the race leader when it comes to a track such as here at Spa, where anywhere the driver can pull out and slingshot past their competitors. As you see on the screen, the focus, the dedication that both of these drivers are going to be having is just going to ramp up even more as we get closer to the end of this race.
And the end of this race is going to be so vital here. These two know that they want a clean and simple finish to this one. They know that they've got drivers behind who want to get there, and give credit to Ben Fuller in 3rd place. You can see just how much work Johan Haas got. He's got the force feedback way up on his sim rig as he tries to go through on board with Ben Fuller in 3rd place. This is mega because he has just driven a massive first 2 laps here, Peter, to get himself back into range.
Yeah, this has been a super run from Ben Fuller, and he's going to be right in the heat of the leading battle, which at the moment is all Apex Racing Team 1, 2, 3. As they come up towards La Source. Now, point for you guys, Tamas Simon is on hards, guys.
Certainly is, but let's listen in then here to Ben Fuller as he charges to try and get back on the leading group. just hear how much lift Ben Fuller had to take through Blanchimont as he was saving and saving and saving, not wanting to get anywhere near the back of Johan Harth just yet. Fastest lap still is Peter Berryman at this moment in time as he is trying to chase down the two-pack in front. But once again for the lead, Johan Harth is going to try and make the move. Apex against the two SDK cars, and it is Johan Harth now who takes the point and takes his turn at the front. This is going to be an exciting race between now and the end, as well as the battle for fourth position, which was just closed in, Peter.
Yeah, and Thomas Simon leading that battle at the moment, but he's got Van Lozenord and Berryman right on his case. And indeed, Van Lozenord and Berryman are on the medium tyre. Thomas Simon is on the hard. So expect Van Lozenord and Berryman to be quick at the moment, which they are so far. But at the very last moments of the race, we could see that medium drop off and the hard come into play. So keep an eye on that one. But our leading trio, this is up to them now. They have to play this one super smart. It's only them that can lose the race now.
Yeah, Michele Costantini giving quite a bit of a gap here. I think he doesn't want to put himself into a range where he can't be going full throttle here on the run out of curb of Paul Frere over towards Blanchimont. You can see split screen right now. The battle for the lead, the battle for fourth as Van Lozenord on the bottom screen is going to get that one done on the inside of Blanchimont without any real qualms at all. That is a fantastic move to get himself back to fourth, and damage limitation, you would say here, Taylor, at this stage for the championship leader is complete.
It certainly is. Damage control has been handled for Martin van Lozenord to stay inside the top 5 in order to get those much needed points. He may try to push it to see if he can maybe go to get that extra bonus point as well for the fastest lap. It's going to be a little difficult for him right now, as he's going to be a little bit ahead of Thomas Simon, who is going to be 5th, but not really close enough to make anything. But as we go back up to the race lead, Constantini will now get back in front of the field and lead once again.
Michele Costantini doing exactly what he wants to there. Take control of the lead, but we are ticking down. We're at 5 laps to go, which will be 4.5 as they exit Bruxelles, the long descent down the hill, formerly known as Rivage, that corner. And now over to the corner, formerly known as Pouhon here. Double gauche, the left-hand flick through in these machines. A lot of machines, because of how much downforce they have in these machines, they're running about 12 clicks of front wing in these cars, Peter. You know, they have so much confidence through the corners where other cars will be lifting, shifting down a couple gears, trying to go through that same section.
Yeah, you've got to reprogram your brain to drive this Dallara IR01. Everything happens so quickly, and like you said, you've got to have a lot of trust in what the car can do, and that only really comes through the practice. But Van Lozenord is absolutely flying right now. He doesn't have the fastest lap of the race, of course. That's still Peter Berryman, but last time by, Van Lozenord was a second quicker than Ben Fuller, second quicker than Costantini. So the Dutchman in 4th position, he is trying everything. He'll have to catch at the same rate, a second per lap. That's going to be a big ask, but he's trying.
Taylor, this is the sort of point where you say Rome wasn't built in a day, and this championship is not built on the result of today. It is built on the amalgamation of 10 races this season, but you want to be in a good from this second point onwards. As you can see, Johan Harth makes the move to the inside, gets alongside, gets by completely on Michele Costantini. I think Ben Fuller buys into that philosophy.
He certainly does, and that's one of the things that will help you win a championship is you could win races, but yet also not be able to finish out every single race and possibly lose out. But the driver who shows consistency, patience, as well as knowing when to attack, and as also go for those wins, that is what will make a champion in this series. Martin van Lozenord is definitely showcasing that. Ben Fuller, also another driver, showing that talent here today at Spa. Even though they can't go out and win every single race, they are definitely going to be patient and show the intelligence to make sure they know when to attack and when to maybe just take it back and get the needed points to move on.
Powder keg is loaded. We just need to wait for the blue touch paper to be lit, to be thrown in, and then we get those fireworks with 3 laps to go when they cross the line. Johan Harth in control of this field right now. The 2 SDK machines behind, of course, of the Italian and the American. Michele Costantini, the Italian, the American, Ben Fuller, who, of course, had that jump start at the opening round. Watkins Glen's never been his best place statistically, and they're going to have to be worried here about a car exiting the pits there on the right-hand side as they go through. That is a lap-down machine. That is now Jorge Martinez, who's decided one more stop to go in, and he's gone onto the Redwood soft compound tyre here, Peter. He's going for the bonus points.
Yeah, very clever there from Martinez. Nothing to lose to go and try that, as well as the SDK Gaming and Apex Racing drivers swapping positions in the top 3 at the front. I have to say, guys, you've got to take a moment to give huge credit to the Apex Racing group. To be 1, 2, 3 in a championship at this level, this is the kind of domination we see of groups like Coanda and the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup and such like, and to select the talent to be able to compete with so many cars at the front. This has been a huge asset to this group in this race, to have that amount of allies in the front group as well. And of course, Ben Fuller, a very new signing to the team, and I'm sure the management are very happy with their new signing in Ben Fuller.
Oh, I certainly agree. So Alex Simpson must be smiling from ear to ear back at Apex headquarters as they figure things out. And it's important to know as well, Taylor, it's taken them a decade to reach this stage. You know, for a long time, they were considered as a group, as an outlet, that they were behind teams like Coanda, behind teams like Redline. It's moments like this which say they are the team to beat right now.
They certainly are, and it showcased of how much work, hard dedication, and tenacity that the Apex Sim Racing Group has showcased over probably the last decade. We've seen this team grow stronger and stronger, and here they are showcasing their world champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's down to those characters that we have. It's going to be about Costantini, Hath, Fuller, who has been very, very patient. The gap 2.4 seconds back to Martin van Lozenoord. And to give you a little bit of an idea of how much Van Lozenoord's closing at this stage here, we've got 2 laps to go. Here comes the move from Johan Hath to go and take the race lead away here, and he gets the move done. Peter, it's crucial. I think there is still outside hope that the likes of Martin van Lozenoord can bring that gap back.
Van Lozenoord is not done. It's going to be a big ask, but my goodness me, the championship leader, number 69, Martin van Lozenoord, is throwing absolutely everything at this. And Johan Hath, Costantini and Ben Fuller, they really need to be looking behind, thinking, we got to go, guys. Whoever the fastest driver is in this group, get them to the front and pull away. And this is where the drivers, if they've got any track limits points left to use them up, because you can't leave them. No point leaving them behind. We can see that already. These top 3 cars using a lot more of the track and exceeding track limits, but they can because they've got allowance to do that.
But this is the point where alliances go out of the window. You want to fight for a victory. There is $300 on the line for the victor, $200 for second, $100 for third. Who's going to take what, and when are the moves going to happen right now? It is Hath with control at the moment into that final chicane. Could that be pivotal just 7 kilometers from now, Taylor?
It certainly will be. There has been recorded from the team. No team orders whatsoever. Go at it. Just don't take each other out. So these drivers are going to give it 110% here on this final lap.
They certainly are. Hath in probably the most unenviable position at the front of this group. Costantini is there. Fuller is there. Up they go through Eau Rouge and Radion, and now you go full bore. Here comes the move for the race lead. It's Michele Costantini going to the outside, trying to pick this off, and he is going to get that move without any arguments at all. But we know the second half of this track can be difficult, and Blanchimont, that run, of course, to the final chicane, still holds some hope and some prosper here, Peter, for Johan Hath.
I think you're right, Jake. I think that run from Kerpol Frere all the way through Blanchimont down to the bus stop gives enough time in these cars to be able to set up a move, so we could see a last corner lunge for the prize here. Oh, what a finish here in the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing World Championship. I can't wait to see what happens here.
The sun sets here on the Ardennes Forest, and we still do not quite know who's going to pick up the victory. It is Costantini who's going to have to go full bore here to cover it all off. You got Hath in second. Fuller is there in third position. On the back of this group, it's Jorge Martinez going for fastest lap, 1 lap down of this trio. It looks like Costantini's got enough of a margin at at this stage, but how much of a lunge do you want to go for your Johan Haas? It looks like it's already covered off. It looks like everything's been safe and secure. What a brilliant drive. Michele Costantini was in trouble in race 1. It's a big victory here in race number 2. He gets it done at Spa-Francorchamps.
What a drive from Michele Costantini. Of course, such disappointment last week with a pit lane speeding penalty, and you can see from the expression on the Italian's face just how much that means, the relief to prove that he is a contender for this championship.
You can see it there. I think realization's just set in. He is a winner now here in the DIGPC, and he has done everything fantastically here. He's just been someone really, Taylor, who's just been quietly wondering as we go through and making sure it happens. We're going to take a look at the replay here of that last lap pass, which sets up the victory here for Michele. They'd been trading places all race long, and the way he got that done was being in the right position at the right time.
You notice right here, he actually backs off a little bit when they come out of Le Source, so that way when they come up through El Rouge and the Redillon, he has that momentum, that pull from the slipstream, slings it to the outside, and I thought he was not going to be able to hold on because it's very difficult to pass on the outside, but Hart just did not have the speed nor the momentum to hold off that SDK Gaming Dallara at all, and was just able to perfectly place his car throughout the rest of the track.
Oh, he absolutely did. And that was an inspired move that will now give him a really, really big bonus as he looks to push for everything that he possibly can in the racing out there. He got the fastest lap bonus point only to his name, and that is a real jump start to get himself back up 25 points richer. But it is more than just Michele at this stage, Peter, because we're talking about drivers who recovered. Van Lozenoord and Berryman, of course, had their issues, and they've done well to recover it up to 4th and 6th.
Particularly in the case of Peter Berryman, I mean, he was backwards into the barrier at Lake Com and not throwing the towel, and his pace from there on, and I'm sure he would be carrying some type of damage as well, and he didn't give in, and that 6th place finish could be really valuable for the Northern Irishman coming into the rest of the championship.
We talk about the rest of the championship at this stage, Taylor. Interlagos is a completely different threat to this one here, of course, as we go through. I believe that that is a huge, huge moment that we're going to be seeing here, how they go from fast, drafty, overtakey tracks to what I would call a more snake-like circuit.
It certainly is a track that will be definitely testing the mights of all of our drivers here today as we see what happens, but a great racing that we have, as well as for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Michele Costantini is here with us right now. He stood by with Peter Mackay.
Michele, welcome to the iRacing commentary box. Congratulations. I'm so pleased for you because last week it was disappointment in the pit lane, but tell us about that race.
Hi everyone, and that was a very interesting race. The first were pretty much all about fuel saving, and then in the last stint, I did something that surprised Martin, putting on the mediums at the end, which I don't know if he was expecting or not, but I think he made a mistake on in the pits, trying to select the mediums at the very last moment, I think. But we caught him off guard there, I think, and there it was a matter of bringing the 1-2-3 home.
And heading towards the rest of the championship, Michele, I mean, you guys must be so pleased at Apex with the quality of drivers. And compared to the other teams, you guys have got allies out there in these drafting races. I mean, how critical is that going to be?
It's extremely important with how strong the draft is in this car. The more drivers you have in a team, or the more drivers you have working together, it's extremely important because, as I said, the draft is very important. It's really important to guide how the draft is going to be like, and know when to overtake and when to not overtake, and when to save fuel and when to stay behind. So, I would say it's the most. It probably is more important to have good teammates around than doing the car in a fast way at the moment.
Well, you certainly mastered it today, Michele. Well done, and all the best of luck for next week.
Thank you very much, guys.
There you have it there, Michele Costantini joining us. It seems that Taylor Burris has got himself down the virtual garage. He's found himself with Johan Hart in second.
We have indeed, sitting down with Johan Hart. Johan, walk us through that last lap of what happened as Costantini was able to get by you coming down that straightaway, and explain the situation of what happened with the car.
Well, on the last lap, the situation was pretty good between all three of us. We're from the same team. We're not going to try anything crazy. So yeah, I tried, of course, to have a go in the chicane, but it was a bit too far. And yeah, didn't want to try anything crazy to take Michele out or anything. So yeah, just settled on for P2. That's a pretty solid result.
Explain to the viewers who are watching today about all the utter amazements of battling here at Spa, compared to what we saw last week at Watkins Glen. Both very high-speed tracks, but yet still some very different parts compared to what we saw last round.
Oh, last round, the only problem was that in the middle of the straight, the track goes up, so we couldn't really go from the left to the right or stay in the middle because we were losing speed and we couldn't get any run. But there at Spa, the runs were crazy up Eau Rouge and through the Dion, so we were able to overtake people from 0.7, 0.8 back out of La Source, and that's what made this race so crazy, I think.
Certainly is. And of course, now we leave Spa and the high-speed circuits to go to Interlagos for the next round next week. Your thoughts on the rest of the championship, and how confident do you feel with this points gain and a podium finish moving on to the next round?
Well, I'm really confident, to be honest. Most of the tracks we're going to the next few weeks, we've already been there in pro qualifiers, and I felt really solid there. I had a couple pole positions, a few really solid results. So yeah, we should be up there again with all the guys, and we should have a pretty fun battle.
We look forward to seeing you at the next round at Interlagos. That's Johan Hart coming home in second place.
And a little look then as we go across. Ben Fuller, the Indianapolis native, is stood by with Peter Mackay.
Ben, welcome to the iRacing broadcast booth. Congratulations on a podium. That was more like it after last week.
Yeah, thank you. Bit of a rough race, but very happy for Michele. You know, he nailed it in qualifying. He was well prepared, and I think that he did a great job today. Johan did a great job to recover from whatever happened on lap 1. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I'm just really disappointed with the issues with Peter. You know, I've got half a car length's netcode issues, and you know, I should have broke earlier, but I felt like I left enough gap with half a car lengths, and it just wasn't enough. And I'm really disappointed for Peter. You know, he should have had a better race. We should have been 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, no, it's just a tough one. It's like I'm just very penalized for my American connection. I get a lot of bad netcode issues with the servers being on EU, which is better overall because there's a lot more EU drivers, but I just really can't race anybody, and it's frustrating for me because, you know, I'm getting tapped from behind, I'm tapping people ahead, and it's like I'm leaving massive car lengths, and it doesn't really matter at all. So pretty unhappy with that personally, but very happy for the team result, and it's good points going to the next round in Interlagos.
Well, and all the best of luck for the next round, and hopefully it'll come good next time out.
Thank you, guys.
Well, let's get confirmation of results then on screen for you. Michele Costantini getting the job done by 0.4 of a second in the end over Johan Hart, who had an incredible race after contact on lap 1. Ben Fuller picking up the podium, and Van Loozenord, after late pit lane dramas, managed to recover his way back to 4th position. Credit to Peter Berryman, who jumped up 6th, and let's not forget Tamas Shimon with a quiet and confident 5th place drive. Matteo Ugolotti finishing 7th. David Toth there in 8th place, with James Pinsker 9th with the high-vis jacket on today, and Andreas Henkel, who'd been racing in rounding out the top 10 then of your field in this one over today. Hopefully we'll jump over the page, as it was a very, very tough day for attrition. Only 15 drivers managed to get themselves to the end of this one. The likes of Omar Bahar, Yartayan struggling here today. Jorge Martinez and Jose Soria, the last finishers in this race. And then your retirees, you look through the likes of Kane Halliburton, Sam Kuitert is one of them, likes of Marcos Nunez. Przemysław Lemonek looked like he could have been challenging for the win today. He absolutely blitzed through in that race, but unfortunately got on the wrong side of things. And then all the way down to the likes of Marcus Jensen, Gio Cortese, and Valentin Mandanak will be the final couple of finishers, or non-finishers, I should say, in this race as they all sorted it out. Peter, it's the jump to Interlagos next. It's going to be a lot more technical here than Spa-Francorchamps. How will drivers deal with that small shift and that mentality of you need to be up there? It's a lot tougher to overtake.
I think it's going to be a completely different dynamic, actually, to be honest, Jake, compared to the really high-speed tracks of Watkins Glen and Spa. It's going to be super, super technical. We might see a little bit more of wheel-to-wheel argy-bargy, maybe, shall we? But maybe the draft playing not as big a factor in these first 2 rounds. And we're going to see who's the most complete driver, and will we see the same drivers at the front?
Taylor, what's going to be crucial as well is how certain drivers respond. How do you respond after a bad meeting here today?
Well, one thing I'm pretty sure a lot of the drivers who did not have the best results here is that they're already going back and getting ready for practice for this next round at Interlagos, because if they thought that the close contact here at Spa was one thing, we pointed out it's a lot more tighter, a lot more tougher to pass at Interlagos, and it's going to be a lot more, as Peter said, argy-bargy incidents throughout the race. So drivers are going to have to be careful, make sure that they have a little bit of driver awareness of what's going on around them when we head to this historic racing circuit.
Well, that is 1 week's time, ladies and gentlemen. Same time, same place. If you haven't had the chance to already, now is the time to keep yourself informed on what is going on. A massive thanks to the crew that has been with me today, of course, from Taylor Burris and, of course, from Peter Mackay. My name's been Jake Sperry. It is a victory for Michele Costantini. It's one that he desperately needed to get himself back into play with, and he knows better than anybody else. It's not the start of a championship that defines you. It is the form and the way you bounce back from it. Lots more to bounce back with. We'll see you next time out when we head to Interlagos.